I spin the block till I'm nauseous, speeding that rate till I'm car sick. I spin the block till I'm nauseous, speeding that rate till I'm car sick.
Flizzy going crazy.
Yeah. Ay, I spin the block till I'm nauseous, speeding that rate till I'm car sick. Pussy, you better be cautious. I run the city, some bullshit. I got some shooters like Optic, moving that way, this ain't CrossFit. You cannot fuck with the god, this pussy boy must be agnostic. I turn this bitch to a mosh pit, speak on my name and we pop shit. Whipping that world like a bocce, bro, they gon' slide with a chopstick. Buy me a perky, a Roxy, rockin' all black like I'm Gothic. Look at the way that I'm flossing, Fletchy ain't taking no losses. Swerving all over the freeway, only way I know the G-way. Told him that he like I'm D-Wade, I turn this bitch into D-Day. Bitch, you ain't getting no leeway, ball on these bitches like EA. Might catch your body, I'm DK. Ayy, scooping your bitch up, she started to click up, now she got hiccups. Ayy, flooded my wrist up, I got my drip up, bet I won't slip up. Ayy, ballin' like NBA, you hoes at the park playing pickup. At the club, take a shot after shot after shot, you touch me, I'm picking that blick up. Any minded more bitches, can't decide, it's no picking. With the Pirates, more chicken, this is not a rotisserie. Touch the squad and go missing, see the watches, no Nixon. Watergate on this Richard, Millie Bobby Brown sniffing. White bitch, nose dripping, here's another flow switch. And it go like simply put, I'm the greatest to do this shit. Me versus whoever, man, I don't care who it is. Hop on the mic, act a fool like I'm ludicrous. I meditate when I smoke with my Buddhist bitch. Rose of the Urus, depend on what mood I'm in. Y'all looking back, talking about what you could have been. Putting in work in the stew where you should have been. Instead, you was Googling what Fletchy pulling in. Ayy, getting them racks, chasing them plaques, smoking that thrax, back of the lack, trying to relax, just checking my stats. I can took over my city so fast it was dead, now I got that bitch jumping like Jack. Fletchy so dope when he drop, everybody get hooked like he lyrically cooking up crack. Ayy, I spin the block till I'm nauseous, speeding that rate till I'm cautious. Pussy, you better be cautious, I run the city, some bullshit. I got some shooters like Optic, moving that way, this ain't CrossFit. You cannot fuck with the god, this pussy boy must be agnostic. I turn this bitch to a mosh pit, speak on my name and we pop shit. Whipping that world like a bocce, bro, they gon' slide with a chopstick. Buy me a perky, a Roxy, rockin' all black like I'm Gothic. Look at the way that I'm flossing, Fletchy ain't taking no losses. Swerving all over the freeway, only way I know the G-way. Told him that he like I'm D-Wade, I turn this bitch into D-Day. Bitch, you ain't getting no leeway, ball on these bitches like EA. Might catch your body, I'm DK.
All right. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. Welcome to a summary sponsored by my very good friends at TENSOR. All of the action from this weekend, discussion on the emotional state of Twitter this weekend, and a look ahead into election week into what we can potentially expect, some of the warning signs, some of the positives, and then dancing around some of the charts. And I think probably we can like kick off with, you know, kind of just like general sentiment, which I think is very important at a time like now. And we'll take a little look at a live screen to do that. I think like from a overall vibe this weekend, I think that things have shifted quite dramatically over the course of the last 3 days. And I think some of that based rightly on the TA, some of that based not at all correctly based on where we're trading, how we're trading, and the expectations that we should have in these markets, you know, in terms of what we see in strong uptrending markets. Now, of course, there are some exceptions to that rule because not all charts look fantastic. And so when I'm speaking about things positively, I'm usually going to be referencing BTC because that's still the best position in terms of what we're seeing from a market perspective. Really, it's still BTC that kind of is taking the top spot there. Some alts are very weak. Some alts are in a decent position. And, you know, really we can get to work on finding out potentially where the best positioning is going to be over the course of maybe a volatile election week, maybe not. Also, you know, worth kind of noting that there's going to be several points where during that election week, I'm sure we're going to see different bouts of volatility. And we'll see, obviously, when the election is finally called as well. That's going to be, obviously, an important one as well. So we'll start off with BTC. And, you know, BTC is less than 1% down on the day. But if you're just browsing Twitter today, you would think that this is probably 10% lower. It's in a fine position for right now. Tapped into the mid 67s, good recovery, and moving back into 68.9s now. Lower time frame starting to get a little bit of momentum back, but the hourly probably needs to get back through this sticky 69.2 level here. If we just map this off, this is really where we're looking at kind of, you know, passing back through to start feeling as though the lower time frame has really got some strength back into things. Yeah, Caddy, you'll be on YouTube. Be on YouTube after. So Barrett's here, so we will get that done. Correction so far on BTC, again, important to understand and kind of think about in terms of where we are. From the high to the low, we're around 8.5% back in terms of the correction. And obviously, over the last 2 months, you know, this has been the trend. Right? So this has been our overall trend. And we're here with that pullback 8.5% off the high. Still absolutely fine on here. And when we start to swap to the higher time frames is where we get a balance of potential concern and then also still the underlying message that everything is still okay through this region. So I think first of all, you know, what we can see here on the lower time frames on Friday was a really good reaction to the weekly level. So this 71.5 is where we've been looking for the higher time frames to close above, and representing a really significant marker through us, you know, for this level here on the higher time frames. Then what we did on Friday, apart from being a really nice lower time frame sweep level as well, we ran straight into that and got a very strong rejection from it. And then this weekend has continued that bleed out fashion that we've had down here. And like I said, now lower time frame 69.2 is where we're going to be looking at trying to reclaim in order to establish any sort of hope that this correction is finished. Now, the weekly time frame, and we can I'll go to a fresh chart to look at this, and this is really where we are from the tweet earlier today. So that's the lower time frame rejection at the weekly level of 71.5, and then what we've got through here is a weekly that on the face of it doesn't look too pretty at this moment in time. All right, so the weekly doesn't look great right now. But I think that heading into a week that we know has the potential to, you know, determine a number of factors for BTC and for the markets in general, I'm not sure that this necessarily is too much to be worried about. Now, of course, that bit is outside influence based. The TA says it isn't a great close. But probably more to be figured out from that. Then we get down to the daily. And the daily is okay. This is the daily low through here. So this is really where we want to see the market holding. So there's a lot of confidence today from the bears on the timeline. There's a lot of confidence from people who are either not believing the rally or are convinced that, you know, there's something suspicious through here. The daily low is the one that kind of would add to the correctness potentially of their line of thought. As it stands right now, BTC is still uptrending on every time frame, right, with the exception of the lower time frames today. And everything still looks really clean on a daily perspective. Again, a lot of emotion for what is still a clearly uptrending market through this region, with 66K loss being the one that would be a concern. Okay, 66K loss opens up the way to 63, but if we start snapping that structure with the weekly close, I think that's a pretty poor look for BTC overall. I think furthermore, we can add to that on the daily with this level through here. Right, so we've either got this one here or we've got this one here. okay, which is the 68.2K level. We can see that on a number of occasions, this was a very solid resistance point for BTC. You might want to have this level up here and kind of have the same thought process. I think for kind of the interests of the charts, then probably 69 flat is probably easier. We would like to see a close today above 69K flat on BTC. I think that would be a nice level for us to close above, because then it takes kind of all of the doubt around, well, are we going to use this 68.2 or are we going to use 69? So if we get that 69, then it clears any element of doubt from that. So really, that would be a nice recovery for BTC. Otherwise, this level through here, again, is still fine for us in terms of revisiting and moving back down into. RSI nearly back at the 50 level. Very good sign for BTC, given the fact that it extended 0.2% off the all-time high. Again, everything relatively clear still on that time frame. Are you considering a failed breakout back inside the range and consolidation, visit the lows and consolidate for 7 more months? No, like I'm still very much in the uptrending thought process. Again, there's nothing that has shifted the thought process here away from this being a strong uptrending market. Right? So there's nothing that really has changed my view on that side of things. If we start breaking the lows at 66, I think that's a pretty solid sign that things are turning around. Right? That's the way that I view this. But apart from that, there's no reason to change. There's no reason to change. Like, yeah, sure, BTC's had a few red days, but look at the last 2 months. It's been incredibly solid. And so, the fact that there's a lot of confidence from the bearish side just because BTC is corrected after doing what it's done just seems a little bit strong, Because of the uptrend, should we still remove our emotions? I mean, realistically, yeah. I bid DOGE today again because it just came back to the most obvious risk-reward area for longs. So, levels to buy this dip, wherever you want to. Like, I just covered off, 3 levels. So, I mean, you're either picking one of them or finding one yourself, basically. Yeah, so you say it's clearly losing momentum. I mean, it's clearly pulling back, right? It's clearly pulling back. But does that mean that this just stops? Does that mean that this just ends? And again, there's no real signs of that on the higher time frames here on the daily. There's no sign that this is just, suddenly over. This is still in a very strong position overall. Yes, the last few days have been red. Yes, TradFi has been red. Yeah, and of course, it's not the breakout power that we wanted to see, but it doesn't mean that that's not coming. It doesn't mean that that's not coming post-election. Markets clearing the way for things post-election, markets de-risking into the election, whatever it might be. It doesn't mean that that doesn't automatically pile back on after. Right? Yeah, push up, shake out, breakout. That would be nice. How do you see the PA playing out with the Harris win versus Trump? Well, I mean, I think that, a lot of people have been speculating whether or not the market's correcting in anticipation of those odds kind of narrowing over the course of the last few days as well, and whether or not this is kind of the preparation. I think just because of the way it's been memed on Twitter as well, I think that probably the Harris win would be the one that would upset the market the most in the short term. I think that this market continues to the upside regardless of who the president is. And so from my side, short-term impact is probably worse under a Harris victory. Longer term, I don't think that changes the trajectory of BTC. I think we still trade to 6 figures. I don't think that changes. As I said, the short-term impact probably more on Harris. What do you think of the long BTC short alt play into the US election? Yeah, it's definitely the strongest play. You can just simplify that, and you can just long BTC and short ETH. Like that's the way to go about it, really, because that is just the way the markets are laid out right now. You take a look at ETH through here. You know, this is a pretty rancid consolidation for ETH. Again, we talk about risk reward. Risk reward is on the long side here, just because of the structure still. But the only change here is that now this is now a lower high here. So of all the markets, ETH is the one that has the warning sign, because ETH is saying, well, here's the structure of the trend here. I've now put in the lower high here, potentially. If this low breaks, then this is down here. And ETH, obviously, over the same patch of time, has just been a pathetic performer. So if you're looking for anything, then like I said, I think it's the BTC offset with the ETH, because ETH is just going to be significantly worse on the downside. Yeah, I mean, Berkshire's been cashing out for a while, though. I think it's like 6 months they've been selling up. You know, and again, we'll cover the index side now, because, you know, we're kind of like on point there. And I think index side is still the concern. We've spoken about this on stream for what feels like months, right? But this is still the concern with the divergences across the highs here. So the fact that we're diverging this, okay, and we diverge this is the concern. We spoke about this, as I said, a long time ago, because we basically said these sort of weekly divergences don't just play out immediately. They can often grind up for a long time, and we can basically just get continuation of the trend for what feels like an obscene amount of time before we finally correct. Now, we've been sort of 220 days here, 245 days here in terms of the divergence build-up. And I suspect it will probably be based on a similar trigger, which is if we lose 566 here, the same way that we lost it through here, right, but not 566, same way that we lost the level through here, then I think that's the start of the correction, and where this will start to then turn around and play out. And this market here is still a concern. Yes, this can push the upside and this can invalidate. But this setup is a concern on the TradFi thing. It's always been a concern. It's always been that thing that's in the back of the mind to say, well, we do have that triple weekly bear div here. Yeah, still in Doge. I rebought Doge. Like, I rebought it because, like, it just came down to the best risk reward area. You look at the daily here, just traded back into this zone here, and the RSI is nearly reset now. So it just felt like it was kind of the best spot to be a buyer again. So just took another position here. It feels sensible, right? Like, there's nothing to overcomplicate really about this. And again, you can like take this all the way over here, and it's a level that Doge interacts with pretty often. So given the aggression of the correction, but again, what Doge is doing on the higher time frames, it just felt like an easy one, or an easy position to move into. You know, and I said, I posted this in the Haven, and I said, I don't know what comes this week. I don't know if the stop loss distance is enough to survive whatever fuckery we get. But the risk reward being offered at this zone here, I don't think you can pass up. That's all. So you spoke many times about rewarding yourself when you had a nice profit. Do you have anything in mind for BTC reaching 100 to 115k? Probably a watch. It's always the go-to. What do you say to all the altcoin hodlers that continue to get destroyed for the last 7 months? I mean, that's a really difficult one because, like, you're absolutely right in terms of the way that alts have just been getting pounded for so long. But, you know, like, what's the option here now? We'll stick this on the hourly and we'll watch this level through here. But what's the option now? You know, do you call it now? Do you like that's enough for me? You know, the issues are always that it should have been identified earlier. So people should have reacted to the fact that BTC was so strong. But what do you say to people now who've been holding for 7 months, been bleeding out? You know, are you selling here? I don't know. I don't know if now is the right time. Like, if ETH gets smoked, if BTC fails the breakout, then alts are turbo fucked. In terms of action, how are you going to manage drawdown if we do nuke because of the election stuff? Willing to hold spot through? I'm short ETH. So I'm short ETH on as kind of my most liquid exposure for the short side. I think, again, that's still like the best play. It's still the easiest play because ETH has a really solid technical reason to be short. We know how weak that market performs in general. And obviously, if BTC shits the bed, ETH's doing double time on it. Any thoughts on BTC ETFs affecting Altseason? Like, if all liquidity is in BTC, dominance doesn't fall and alts don't fly? Or is that bullshit? Again, I think it's probably more as a result of environment over the last 7 months. We've had patches in which alts have been very strong. We've also had alts individually which have performed very well, depending on sector. In terms of universal alt season, that's really what we've been missing, right? We've been missing something that would be more reflective of the overall alt seasons of the past. I don't believe that it's because of BTC ETFs. I think that BTC has had the demand clearly for, you know, a long time, even prior to ETFs all being processed and going through, and also the fact that not everyone has access to the ETFs, and so there's still, you know, kind of lots of proxy plays like MSTR. I think really, you know, there has to be that shift in demand away from BTC. In prior cycles, it always used to be, you know, strong BTC rally, BTC consolidate, alts start to take off. And alts have done selling off while BTC has consolidated this time, but it, you know, it also looks on the face of it that BTC isn't done rallying yet. Previous kind of cycle paths were always that it was acceleration of BTC, consolidate, alt season, usually then the top of BTC and the top of alts. So, I mean, maybe there's something in that, but yeah, for now, BTC just has all of the demand. It just has all of the attention. It's still by far the strongest market. Yeah, so, you know, Arjun, that plays into what your question was as well. So, you know, that's really like the same thought process. I absolutely still believe that we get alt seasons. The one thing that tends to happen during cycles is that we just like factor out coins, we just factor out markets, and then they struggle to ever do anything productive again. And I just think that that time is here, even though for BTC it's like either mid-cycle or hopefully the start of a fresh cycle. But I think that we factored out and already, you know, discounted a lot of alts in this list. Like, this watch list has been running for probably 18 months or so on stream. And I would say that probably 80% of the coins in here will never reach their all-time high again. Like, there's such kind of a fluid rotation that goes on in memes. I really don't know what value a lot of alts are going to be having now. No, I haven't scaled up on Roblox. I mean, like retail, apart from retail being us anyway, but I understand your point. Like, yeah, the normies aren't here for sure. Like, there is no normie participation right now in crypto. Like, we had a little blast of it during kind of Sol season, but really there is no normie participation in crypto right now. What's your favorite watch? What's your dream watch? Patek, AP, RM, IWC. My dream watch. Well, the watch that I like the most on the wrist is the Platinum Daytona. Ice blue dial, brown bezel, weighs a ton. But although I very much like my watches, I have a certain cutoff that I feel comfortable wearing in terms of value. And so, yeah, a Plat Daytona is too big. I'm not a fan of RMs. Not a fan of RMs. You think AI is over? Now, what AI are you referring to? You're referring to AI in terms of NVIDIA? Are you referring to AI in terms of render and FET? Or are you referring to new age AI in terms of GOAT? Yeah. What bracelet? Just classic Oyster for that. More of a Casio guy. Yeah, 100K watch on the street in England. Man, it's over. Yeah, I mean, the majority of people don't know like what it is. It's why I really enjoy wearing my Vacheron. Because like nobody knows what that is. Like nobody knows if that's like a $50 watch or a 50 grand watch. AI like render and FET. Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, they're in pretty poor positions overall. I'm just not navigating to those charts yet just because of this interesting spot that BTC is trading into. That's all. Any update about Tensor? If you're asking for the ticker, then no. If you're asking as a whole, then meme trading launch very soon, which is going to be great for stream. Let's get down to the lower time frames to see this, because we know that, as I said, this level here is good on the hourly. Lower time frames starting to get overextended into this as well. Nice little spot, you know. This is a nice little spot here. Again, we know that the daily would be good above this 69 here. So, you know, we've got a few hours left to hold on, 3 hours, but this is certainly the lower time frame reaction zone for us here. I mean, the hourly made it very, very clear through this region where it is. And so bears in control if they manage to hold this. If they let this run, then I suspect that coming up to like these highs to take out the weekend kind of like, you know, bleed out is probably where we'll look at trading next. Bought an IWC Portuguese perpetual a week and a bit ago. Should have known it was going to top the market. That's good though, man. You put your profit into something. Yeah, Peloton madness. What's your strategy going into election day? Are you considering de-risking in case of whipsaw? No. I don't think I'll run anything lower time frame on election day. I might like play about with some stuff, but realistically, I don't think I'm going to be, you know, diving into lower time frame trading. I think it's a week that you should really be kind of like taking off from active trading, which is super difficult because lots of people are going to feel as though they need to trade that week because of the value. It's, you know, it's like when we get any of the key data points, and especially when the market is very reactive to them, everybody kind of like wants to pile in because that's when they know there is volatility. Okay, it's like a patch of known volatility, and therefore it makes you want to trade those regions, but you typically never come out of it without bruises. Yeah, Peloton, great. Such a good market. Such a good market. The weekly reclaim was so strong for it, and then the resulting action is just so good. Do you find it silly to chart on dominance? I mean, like, not necessarily, because I think that's provided value to people. I don't tend to do it that often, but I'm way more aware of like BTC Dom now, like BTC Dom, Sol Dom, and ETH Dom, basically. $247 viewers. We're live on Twitter as well, so that's why we always say this. There's far less people that watch on Twitch now because I also stream directly on Twitter. BTC bottoming here because I got stopped out at the lows. Yeah, I mean, like, people are just going to call this the Kobe bottom, though, if it rallies from here. Are you only shorting ETH if Harris wins, or already hedged up? Already shorted it. Yeah, already short. Thanks a lot for all your teachings over the years. Although I'm still getting fucked like everyone else, I feel like my thought process is slowly changing towards the right direction. My risk management has changed. My methodology is now more systematic, and I'm even able to buy into fear. So thanks again for all your teaching. A pleasure, man. I'm very pleased to hear that. Apart from the getting fucked like everybody else, but everything else sounded great. So then RKLB, yes. Ooh, Billy says I made big bags this cycle, but I'm having trouble upping my trade size. I still think like a poor. Any advice on how to adjust up as size grows? Always the way, you know, you think about it as percentage. That's what we always say. Think about it as percentage of your portfolio and never as the dollar value. It helps the mind better understand and better come to terms with what you're actually betting on things. So always think about it as in, I'm betting 1%, 1% risk here, not whatever that translates to in the dollar sense. And again, risk is still, kind of that sliding scale. So make sure that when you have stronger setups, you're risking more. Weaker setups, risking less. Now I'm not vaping again. My nose is blocked. That's probably what you heard, was me trying to clear my nose. But no, definitely not. Definitely not. It's been... How long has it been now? 6 months? Has it been that long already? May. Maybe stopped in the May? 5 months? 6 months? Southern Chewy yet? Hello, Light. You think there's an edge in betting on the election? Probably not. I mean, I thought that the edge was probably in just betting Harris, because like Polymarket seemed awfully skewed in terms of pricing on a Harris win when other polls were indicating it was far closer. So it felt as though there was value on that side, but in general, not necessarily sure there is. So we also had down here, this is a kind of another interesting point to discuss, but down at the lows on BTC, we also had the nice hourly div down here. So you can see both RSI here producing that and the awesome oscillator as well down here. Now, in a downtrending market here on the hourly, this would constitute still an hourly playout in terms of the divergence. We know that as well, obviously, we're squeezing into an area which is a potential resistance zone. So this could absolutely just be the hourly playout of the divergence. Little counter trend squeeze here, moves up into the former support, now turn resistance region. And that could be enough for BTC in terms of the pressure that we've seen to the upside. And that is to be determined. That's currently where we are. 4-hour level is clean as well, so this is a really good one to keep marked on the charts. You on the pouches though? Yeah. Yeah. I haven't given up nicotine. Fuck that. Just the vape inside. Would you take a short-term long with that current setup you're looking at? Now, like I already longed at the like here-ish. I think it was 68.3, and I've taken profit here. There's no reason to stay into this level, I don't think, because you can play anything that gets back above it. So I don't think if you're trading lower time frame, I don't think you need to try and, sneak out more value than that. And again, especially because I'm running on a timer now in terms of how active I want to be in the market until the elections. When did you realize you became rich? When I stopped checking the prices of things when I went out. That's probably the kind of the moment that it's sunk in. Just stop checking prices of, stuff at the supermarket, stuff in the stores. That was like the mental turning point. I think render FET tau can reach all-time high. I mean, I think that basically just pegs on the fact that NVIDIA carries on. That would be the thought process. For any of those markets to do well, then NVIDIA needs to continue. It's a decent retest area for NVIDIA, honestly. Like 133s is a fine area for retest. If this continues, then those markets will still perform well. But, you really just want to start establishing this as a structural change in terms of, like a weekly low here. Otherwise, pretty rough. All-time highs, maybe. But then, I guess I find it difficult to... I always find it difficult to really kind of get behind alts like FET and render and everything else, because I always question, like, what's the need for a crypto-related AI coin? Like, what is the actual use case for that? Oh, NVIDIA already back at 140 in aftermarket? Nice, okay. Nice. So you already set up and bid it before it even hit that level, and your order filled. Then you took profit or closed around this resistance. Yeah. So I took the position based on the hourly divergence. So down here, I actually took it when we started recovering up this side. Let me find my exact entry. Might not be as good as I thought. Here we go. BTC. Okay, so I was at 484. So I was here. So basically once we started to move, and then just basically took it into here. That's it. Literally that one. Yeah, opened at 68485. Closed at 69144. So besides memes, it seems like you don't think alts will do 5 to 10x from this point. No. Like I don't think most alts are going to run 5 to 10x. No. I think Doge has a shot at getting $1. But that's a meme. But in general, like I don't know what the case would be for that really. And then the same thing, the same thing happens with memes that happens with alts. We just like flooded the market with shit. But like there's no use case to any of this stuff. It's probably also why, the market matures in terms of the BTC strength. And then I think also the Sol strength is well worthy of, note as well. How about WIF? I still think the WIF is a weaker market to Doge. Like in terms of just general normie appreciation. Like WIF, like I've always said, I said it for fucking ages, even when we were back at, fucking $4 plus on WIF. WIF is a harder coin to sell to the normies because it's more expensive. Normies don't care about the fucking picture that's used along with the ticker. They don't care. They care about what dream can you sell them of flipping something into high numbers. It's why Doge always works, because you can think about Doge to $1. Right? It used to be Doge to a cent. And with stuff like SHIB, you can see all the normies that talk about something like SHIB going to $1. Right? Which is basically like the world's GDP. But that's what the normies want. WIF is too highly priced. It's too highly priced. Even here, it's $2 for a meme coin. That's too expensive. Like, you want to be buying something at fractions of a cent in the hope that it runs to $1. Like, that's the dream that the normies believe. It's nothing to do with what fucking picture you use, anything else. It's a less impactful market. What's your thesis then? What's going to run? I don't necessarily think that I have a thesis. I think if BTC pushes here and makes the all-time high clearance and price discovery mode, I mean, obviously we know that demand is on the BTC side of things. I think far more people need to be appreciative of the way that crypto stocks line up, especially if Trump wins. Like, Trump's already on the bandwagon of, US crypto. So I think that crypto-related US stocks do incredibly well. So, I think there's other areas that are BTC beta that are outside of, the classic crypto landscape, basically. Do you still regularly trade TradFi over futures? Yeah. Yeah. I love TradFi still. So much. Yeah, I trade a lot of TradFi still. Yeah, we'll look at coin. So, like, the main ones that you'd be looking at here is obviously you'd be looking at Coinbase to kick off. So, you know, the Coinbase stuff, you really want to be saving this weekly somewhere here. Or I say saving this weekly, bouncing back off this weekly through here. So you really want to be moving, you know, back away from this zone. We had some relatively nasty divergences here at the highs, and then obviously earnings came in and, you know, compounded things a little bit in terms of the negative side. Overall, the structure is still fine here. If this is the run of these highs and this little, you know, kind of like cluster here, yeah, that's going to be a shame because obviously then we are going to go lower. But from where we are right now, I don't think that this is in a bad position at all. Higher time frames still absolutely fine. Monthly is the one that got slaughtered because of when this all dropped in. But still hovering around that 50 level in terms of RSI. So I think, again, coin's still in a very, very decent spot and is going to be very dependent on election outcome. Like, coin is going to do very well in that situation. Then Riot is the other one. I think Riot is the one that is a very interesting market, again, depending on president. I think that you've then got Hive and Hut. I think these two markets are very interesting. Mara, again, this doesn't look great. This is like the ETH chart basically through here. But again, in terms of risk reward, you're getting that, but you are also getting earnings on the 6th. If it follows the way that Riot and Coin did, then it ain't going to be pretty either. And CLSK, yeah. Now, CLSK, you got a problem because of this here at 15. So it needs to be trading back above 15. In terms of retests and movement back down, this is a very good zone here around that $10 mark. Right? Lots of history with this zone. Right? In terms of rejections, supports, blast throughs, right? Retest here, consolidate before sell-off, resistance, back through, retest here. But this is the sticky one. Hey, that's the sticky one. There's plenty of good shit in there, but that's probably what you're looking at. So in terms of, you know, originally the question was around predictions. Ooh, nice BTC. Yeah, originally the question was on like, what's your thesis and what's your predictions? I think that BTC beta does very well, especially if the election goes the way it would be more supportive of US crypto companies. And then when it comes to the alt side of things, I think there's, you know, some validity to what Murad says and what he talks about, which is that I do think that there is, you know, a lot of potential for memes to do incredibly well. We can disagree in terms of the total valuations, but I think that memes have the potential to do some pretty good things. And I think that's also where the attention's going to be. I don't think people are going to be that focused in terms of, oh, what's LTC going to do? What's Neo going to do? No one's going to give a shit on that. I think people are literally going to take their capital and dump it into memes. As far as TA, do you use anything besides support, resistance, AO, and RSI? No, nothing. You got it exactly what it is. Are you a person that believes there's a recession, an eventual big dump after the last stages of a bull market next year? No. No, I don't really make big sweeping predictions like that because I don't think it's really worth it. It's like I deal with what goes on in, you know, kind of in this patch of time that I can control, not just some random statements for the future. All I do is I take the markets as I see them and then adapt if the market picture changes. So it's like BTC. You know, lots of people today were on Twitter and being like, you were bullish at the Pico top. Apart from that being factually incorrect anyway, like, there's still no reason not to be bullish. There's still nothing that's changed on the picture. Now, when that does change, if 66K is lost on the daily, for example, then yeah, I have to change my approach. But you're not just going to start like putting out random things to say, oh, BTC looks dodgy here. I don't think this is going to work. And then, you know, once every 20 times it actually works, you know, you actually get it right. Same with like the big sweeping statements. So when people ask about where's BTC, what's the high for BTC, I got no fucking clue. It's better than just making the sweeping random remarks. Yeah, do you have any big meme holdings for longer term holds or just actively trading in and out? I really like Bitcoin. It's in the tickers Bitcoin. And I own MOG. And I own Retardio. And that's about it in terms of, you know, larger holdings. New AO video will come in time. I think, you know, again, this is something like from the Haven perspective. It's like I've got the Renko content that's going out in the Haven, but the market has just changed into an environment where less people care about education and more people care about like what's going on right now in terms of the market. Yeah, Soulbag, still got it, man. Said that's the only one that hasn't changed. It's the only one that's remained the same all the way through as the Soulbag. I think Sol still looks in a really good position as well. Like again, I don't know if that's cope by me, but I think Sol looks fucking great. I think this again is just another correction like Sol likes to pull. You go on the weekly here. Like, arguably, the weekly setup is kind of like better than BTC's. We even took the low here down to the 157s. This is a great looking higher time frame setup. And then what have we got in terms of like 14% off the high? It's pretty tasty, man, honestly. I think this just looks fine. The only market that I'm also short on is PENDLE. Like, this is the only market that I'm short on here, apart from ETH. And I took 33% profit basically at the low today. Because I think structurally this is in a bit of trouble here as well. I think this took out the high from over here, which is quite nice from like a grind up perspective. But it's also then diverging across all of the highs on the daily. So it's really weakening here across these highs. And given the fact that we've got 2 red days here, and I'm guessing that today also is going to close red despite the fact the market's recovering now, it means that this is just going to diverge here as well locally and look as though that play out is nearing. I think realistically, like, the take profit's probably here. But yeah, this is the only other one I'm short on for now. Everything besides BTC is happening on Sol. Got a cheeky long at 158. Good man. That's a good entry. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, like the Sol side of things, we speak about ETH a lot in terms of ETH will recover, ETH will do this, ETH will, you know, get back into, you know, the highs, ETH will do, you know, whatever ETH's going to do. But I think we discussed in the last stream, like, what happens if it doesn't? What happens if this is just cooked? You know? Do you reverse to long when you TP? No. No. No, it's never that. It's never that, like, rotational flip. Yeah. And I think you're right, you know, in terms of what you say here, like BTC beta is now just a meme apart from TradFi, but BTC is king or potentially so. I think you're absolutely right. I think that Sol makes a very good case for that. Now, one thing that I spoke about yesterday, because I put this up in the Haven last night, and I said, I think this is just a case of having some patience here, because I think that Sol trading down. I said Sol into 157s, I think, is a possibility last night. And this was starting to diverge here. So this is when I posted last night to say I think that we need some patience here, because I think that Sol still has the potential to visit the 157s. Now, when it comes to like the overall view of this 12-hour divergence has now played out. Okay, so we've got 12-hour div here, and obviously up on the RSI as well. Now this divergence has played out. This is 15% counter trend. It's crossed over the AO, and we can now consider this bearish divergence played out. So one of those factors that we had that was above us, that was kind of a concern on Sol, is now starting to disappear. The daily, again, arguably, because the RSI div and the better structure here on the 12-hour, can argue is played out, 15% counter trend move. If this closes back above 165, very, very good close. What's the best source of info besides your videos if one wants to become a full-time trader and investor, primarily in the crypto sector? YouTube is just a really good source of information as long as it's the right people. We always recommend creds, crypto creds content, because it's just such a good kind of TA and technical understanding base. And I was all self-taught. Like everything I did was all self-taught. So how do you know exactly when the div has played out? There are a couple of factors that you look for. One of them is the indicator that you're looking at for the divergence crossing over a midpoint. So you can see here the AO crosses over the midpoint, which gives us indication that this divergence here has played out, and the RSI crosses its midpoint, giving us indication that this has played out. And then the second part of that is kind of a more simple but yet subjective one, which is that you're looking for any strong impulses in the price action. Okay, so anything that impulses very strongly, we would take as a divergence play out. It's the same on BTC that we'd have right now for the lower time frame, right, where we were talking about the fact we've got an hourly divergence here, and this is quite clearly strong impulse to the upside. Then we would safely assume that this is the divergence playing out here. Lower time frame trading strategy, divergences, support, resistance. Cred, yeah, but please make sure you know I'm referencing crypto cred, not credible crypto. Not that credible stuff is bad. I'm just saying it's from a TA perspective. Cred's YouTube content is good. Damn, I saved that quick, huh? With runes, are you actively trading charts TA or just considering it very early and accumulating? Just considering it very early and just holding decent things. Barely any alts look good at the moment. I'm BTC and Sol, good. But I think the market will show its hand if the market heats up and coins will emerge. I think that's the best way of playing it. Honestly, I think that's the best way of playing it. Like, you don't need to go crazy. I think you're absolutely right. And I think indexes as well, just while I think about the lower time frame here for BTC, the indexes are in a really interesting point lower time frame as well, because they're, you know, arguably doing something very, very similar here on the 4-hour. So we can see here, we've basically got this zone on the NASDAQ. Just over the 20,000s, which makes sense to the round number region. But again, this is an area here of potential weakness. Is there a reason why if BTC pumps, ETH pumps way less, but if BTC dumps, ETH dumps way more? Yeah. Not many people want to hold ETH. And that works on both ways. Works on both sides. BTC really wants to stick this now. Let's wrap up in 5 minutes anyway. So final questions, get them in and we'll... You sound like you're 27, but your thoughts are like 50. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's what when I started streaming, basically all I started doing was I would basically just have this conversation with myself that I'm having with you guys. And then by streaming, it just gave me a platform to actually talk to other people during it. So what you're basically doing is you know, hearing my usual thoughts, but you're privy to them. All right, he's actually 47. Not true. He's 17. Closer. What do you mean it's the other way around? There's no way I sound 50 and you think my thoughts are from a 27-year-old. How many positions do you currently have running, including spot, and what's the max you think you can manage? Crypto side of things, like 5 maximum. I can't manage any more than that, not effectively. Yeah, not effectively. Everything turns to dog shit above that. It's just... Basically, the stocks market looks kind of scary. Wouldn't it be best to risk off crypto here just in case or hedge? That's completely down to you, man. Like NFA and all that. But again, I'm short on ETH because for me it's the best vehicle for the downside exposure. I think it has the potential to absolutely puke. So I think ETH is still the best looking short setup. I think you can make genuinely, I think you can make a pretty good case for just shorting ETH anyway. Like regardless of a fucking hedge. Yeah, I got an internal one, look. 25 spot positions? Oh, fuck, man. Christ. Yeah, that's too much. Yeah, five is a maximum for me. I can't handle more than 5 things. You don't realize just how focused you need to be in order to manage positions well. Like how much attention that requires to actually manage positions well. And then, you know, people always ask, "Oh man, I took profit too early. Why did I take profit so early? How do I hold things longer?" It's typically because you're juggling too many things and you don't have enough focus on fewer markets. That's typically one of the negatives that spills out from it. So if you manage fewer things and manage them really well, you'll typically eclipse anything that you would make by holding double the number of assets. When you say CT is bearish bullish, how do you derive it? Because you're unable to read the whole of CT. I have a pretty good awareness in terms of what Twitter discuss. And then also you have to remember, as like a larger account, I get a lot of replies. So I get a lot of people who will comment, and a lot of those comments give the general sense of mood. Please share your thoughts on POPCAT. Stinking right now. Good recovery up here. It needs to get back through 140s. This is a decent zone here on the lower time frames. So it needs to get through here. But higher time frame, this is the first time that we've started to see the RSI levels be lost at the 50 point in a long time on POPCAT. This is the first time that the 12-hour has started to impulse down below this level. It's been nearly, 2 months here where we've just held, and this is the first time we'll have a full cross. Not a great sign. And then you've got all of this build up here, which we've already started to attack, and we've done relatively decently on the downside. And then you've got this little patch here on the daily, which is right around the $1 region, gives an opportunity to run that round $1 if we continue to sell off. Divergence is here, here, and here on the run up. This high in particular losing a load of momentum on the way through. signs that we're starting to recover and that you may not see lower. We're probably on a reclaim of 142 and then any movement back above the meme line here. ETH sentiment is so bad, ETH BTC bottom must be very close. Isn't it time to start rotating BTC to ETH? I don't think so. I don't think I would be comfortable making that rotation at this point in time. I also don't think I'd be comfortable making that rotation when the ETH chart looks like this. And we were saying earlier, man, like this is also the first time that ETH has put in a lower high here as well. So when you've got this structure and you've got this daily uptrending structure here, and you've got your low and your high and then your higher high, the fact that this is now a lower high here leads the way to this breaking down the bottom. And then if that breaks down the bottom, again, we can just meme line up here. And then we already know as well that the 3-day RSI is rejecting at the 50. The weekly RSI is at the 50 reset. Everything looks good for bearish continuation here. And I would say that regardless of, you know, what's coming up next week, this chart doesn't look very good. ETH had a really solid chance here on this run up to try and break into another fresh higher high and therefore also escape this sticky region of the 2750s. Failed to do so. And as I said, as a result, is putting in the lower high here. So if it broke this and it came up here and it traded to 2900 resistance and then consolidated between these levels, fine. That's a far different story. But I think when you're in the position that it's currently in, and this is starting to come now on the downside, I think that's a potential problem for ETH. So for me, it isn't the rotation yet. I think 2750 would need to go before I'd be interested in any rotation into ETH. Realistically. Do you use footprints, volume profiles, and order flow, or similar to trading TradFi futures? Or just set up with RSI and SR? TradFi is an even better example of markets that just require simplicity, because for the majority of the time they're up only, or you just need very simple entry triggers and that's it. Would you say the old days of pumps are over? No. I have the feeling the last 200 days is crab or down only for coins. To be a bear kind of pays off often. Well, in crab markets, you're not paid off for being a bear. You're paid off for fluidity. And it never really pays to be a bear, because when the markets do move, then bears just have no value whatsoever. You're just better off focusing, like, the majority of people just struggle with market selection. Really, that's the biggest problem, is you need to figure out which markets you should be buying. That's the biggest problem. You need to figure out which markets should you be buying and which markets should you be interested in. Like I said, a lot of the stuff in this list is probably never sees another all-time high. All right, let's wrap up there. So I think the week ahead is a really interesting one, obviously, given the election and whatever will happen. Now, obviously, the results of that aren't going to be known for days afterwards. And so we're going to have a situation, I think, where the market is going to be very volatile and receptive to all of the news and all of the discussion that's coming out from that, and obviously the results themselves as well. So this week is going to be a week that either you're a lower time frame trader that you really, really have to keep your eye on the ball, because it's going to be, you know, a potentially a very, very wild back and forth whipsaw style week. And hopefully, come the end of this process, we should hopefully have some clarity in terms of both the TA and then the general sentiment in terms of overall direction, whether that's continuation, whether or not that's rejection at this high, whatever that might look like. I think for now, the thing that you're doing is you're remaining relatively fluid in your thought process. If you are deciding that it's time for you to risk off because you're nervous about the results and which way it may go, I don't think anyone can criticize you for that. If you want to take a hedge, I think it's just about identifying the best hedge market for you. If you're looking at keeping longs open, are you doing so in markets that are showing strength already? You know, don't hold on to something that's already puking. So I think really you just, this kind of like setup time now, the next 48 hours or so, is really just about how you can put yourself in the best possible position to deal with the volatility. And for a lot of you, that's also going to mean not trading. Like just not moving into position, not finding yourself forced into doing something because you think there's value to be achieved. Whatever happens, there's going to be back and forth price action. All right. So everybody have a wonderful week ahead. I'll be back probably like at the later half of next week, just because there's no point really diving into stuff earlier than that. So once we actually start to get some movement and we start to get, a little bit more kind of, solidifying of the price action, then I'll look at streaming again, and we'll have a chat about everything that happens. And whoever your political allegiance lies with, good luck in the week ahead. I hope that you're happy whatever the outcome. It isn't going to happen. Enjoy what's left of your Sunday. Enjoy the start to the week. Everybody have a good one. And